I love cinnamon rolls, you love cinnamon rolls, we all love cinnamon rolls, and we're putting a little bit of an autumnal twist today, and we're making pumpkin cinnamon rolls. I am borrowing this recipe from savorynothings.com, and I am putting my own little twist on the icing. So, to start, let's get a large bowl and 4 1/4 cups all-purpose flour. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast, along with 1 teaspoon of pumpkin spice. I accidentally doubled my pumpkin spice mixture and it turned out fine. So I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. Then we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Whisk that all together. Make a little bit of a well in the middle. And then we need 1 1/4 cups of milk. I warmed mine slightly so it's lukewarm. We're going to be adding a 1/3 cup of white sugar and 4 tablespoons of butter melted and slightly cooled, along with 1 cup of canned pumpkin. Whisk that all together and then pour it into our dry ingredients. Mix those all together. Our dough is going to be a bit sticky and shaggy. Don't worry about it, just get all of our flour mixed in. And then we're going to cover our bowl with a dish towel and let our dough sit at room temperature until it's about doubled in size, which can take between 1 and 2 hours depending on how warm your room is. Once your dough has doubled in size, we're going to do a little bit of prep. We're going to mix together 3/4 cup of sugar. I recommend using a whole cup of either white sugar or brown sugar. I used brown sugar. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon and 1 teaspoon of pumpkin spice. I eyeballed maybe 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. I would highly recommend adding just a little bit of allspice. It can be very powerful, but it adds just a little something that makes these stand out. And I know my 3/4 don't add up to 1 teaspoon, but as you could see, I eyeballed it. So mix together your spices and your sugar. Get out a baking sheet. Mine is about 17 inches long. Line it with some parchment and flour it generously, because this is where we're going to be pressing out our dough. So you don't actually need a rolling pin this time. Plop your dough onto our floured pan and put some more flour over the top of your dough. And then we're just going to use our hands and press our dough out to fill our baking sheet. Add a little bit more flour if it's sticky, just so that your hands aren't sticking. Once you've pressed your dough out, we're going to take 6 tablespoons of melted butter and brush that all over the top. And then take our cinnamon sugar mixture and spread that all over the top. As you can see, our spiced sugar covers the dough, but I do wish I would have added just a little extra sugar. And then we're going to tightly roll up our cinnamon roll log and brush off the flour as you go. Now, I don't love this option. I like the baking sheet so that you have a perfect size, you aren't trying to measure your dough, and I like that you could just press it out with your hands instead of using a rolling pin. But this rolling part is kind of difficult. This is very soft dough that we're working with. If you wanted to press this out onto a heavily floured surface and roll it up, that might work well. Or maybe if I had just used my parchment to help me roll my log, that would have helped. But we got there in the end. Then we're going to get out a 9x13 pan, line that again with parchment paper, and cut our cinnamon roll log into 12 even slices. Go ahead and place your cinnamon rolls evenly into your pan. They will have a little bit of space in between them, and brush off any excess flour if you need to. Now we're going to cover our cinnamon rolls and let them sit for about 30 minutes or until they're puffy and touching each other. I let mine go a little bit longer than 30 minutes. We are going to preheat our oven to 360 degrees Fahrenheit, 360. And before we pop our cinnamon rolls in to bake, we're going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter and brush the tops. So we're going to bake our cinnamon rolls for about 20 minutes or until they're lightly browned and cooked through. It's hard to tell when they're lightly browned. I like trying to tap the center ones to hear if they're hollow. I did slightly over bake mine, but they were still really good. So The moisture from the pumpkin gives you a little bit of leeway if you're worried about them being undercooked. We're going to let them sit in the pan for 5 minutes and then lift them out to cool completely. And then for our icing, you can use whatever icing recipe that you enjoy. I'm taking 3 tablespoons of butter softened and 2 ounces of cream cheese softened, along with a half cup of powdered sugar and 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, because I wanted a maple icing. And I'm going to add some milk to thin it out to my desired consistency. Now, if you're going to ice your cinnamon rolls while they're still hot, make your icing a little bit thicker because the heat will thin out your icing. If your cinnamon rolls have cooled, you can make your icing thinner and then it will be much easier to spread. And I want my icing to cascade down the sides of my cinnamon rolls, so I made mine even thinner. One tip: if you are trying to make your icing and you're still getting little bits of the cream cheese that won't smooth out, pop your icing into the microwave, as long as you have a microwave safe bowl, for about 10 seconds and then give it a stir. Sometimes it's just that your cream cheese was still a little bit cold. So then once your icing is to your desired flavor and consistency, go ahead and ice those cinnamon rolls. I will leave all of the ingredients and the instructions down below in the description for you guys. Give this video a big thumbs up if you would give this recipe a try, and be sure to subscribe for more delicious recipes. And if you are looking for a delicious No-Knead original cinnamon roll recipe, click or tap here on screen and I will see you guys there.